up, y'all? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are going to be talking about an undrafted free agent that Detroit Lions signed this offseason, Jalen Elliott, the safety out of Notre Dame. Welcome in, everybody. Before we get into the main part of the video, I'm trying out some new camera angles, so let me know what y'all think about this one. Look, there's different ways we can do this. And at some point, I kind of want to not use the green screen for these videos. Like, I love having the green screen. I'll use it for certain things. Maybe if you on the gaming channel, maybe if we go live. But for the most part, I'd like to just have an actual background and put line stuff in the background. That'd be kind of cool, right? I feel like that'd be kind of cool. I got a lot of stuff to put behind me, so I feel like that could be something that we go to at some point. Also, I kind of like the aspect of there being a desk, but I think I'm zoomed in so much right now that there's no desk. But the reason I'm zoomed in is so that the green screen can catch it, because the green screen isn't as big as my wall. So I'm not sure how I want to do this, but I think this is a good place to start. I'm not sure if you guys can see my notes or not. I have my notes up here. When you guys are real close and personal, you can't see the notes, right? You can't see the notes. But now if I do this, y'all might be able to cheat. Y'all might be able to just say, oh, snap, I see what you're working. Oh, you're lying. You didn't even read your notes. No, so I don't know. I mean, or you probably actually won't be able to read them. My handwriting's pretty trash. I'm not even worried about that at that point, honestly. But hold up. What do y'all think? I mean, this is just a different way. The real video of this video will not be like this. It's going to be like normal. But I did want to try the intro like this to see what it came out as. There's still going to be the background on, but I think in the future I may not want to keep it on. Also, should I turn the laptop, because I got a laptop here, not a laptop. I got a monitor here. I could turn it and then shoot something on there, make it look kind of cool instead of just putting everything in front of me like cutaways. I don't know, y'all. Y'all comment below any suggestions. I also had to move. I have a TV that I had here too, so y'all can let me know. What do y'all think of the style? Is it stylish? Should I try to just get rid of the background? Are we getting rid of the green screen? Is that because I feel like it'd be more crispy? See, when you use the green screen, it's not as crispy because it has to cut out all the edges, and then it still has some things in there, and my hair cuts off like this, and sometimes it's all slanted and stuff, and I real goofy. Or my hands, if I go like this, it's it jacks it all up. But if there's not that, it'll be a lot cleaner. So I don't know. Y'all let me know. Okay, I'm rambling a lot though. Y'all want to hear this video. We're talking about Jalen Elliott. Undrafted free agents deserve love too, and we need to talk about him. So that's what we're doing today. If you guys want to see another one of these videos, make sure you comment below the next undrafted free agent to talk about. And yeah, I'll see y'all later. All right, I'm out. Snap. Now I gotta go way over there and turn on my camera. Okay, hold up. I'm out. What is up, y'all? Welcome into another video. All right, I lied. I told y'all it wasn't gonna be like this, but then I looked at the intro and I was like, oh, that's clean. I was like, oh, that's clean. Hopefully, I moved the camera a little bit, so hopefully it's still similar. I don't know. We're talking about Jalen Elliott today, but let's forget about the whole intro. You guys see what you see. Comment below what you guys think, suggestions. But we're talking about Jalen Elliott today, this safety out of Notre Dame. Now, I've already recorded this once, but I do think that it came out so clean like this that I wanted to record the whole episode like this. So I went back and watched Jalen Elliott. I think undrafted free agents are someone that we need to focus on, because undrafted free agents still make teams, right? They still have an impact on teams at times. Bo Benshaw was an undrafted free agent we signed last offseason, and he's still with the Detroit Lions up to this season. I think he will make the team. Ryan Pope was the guy we gave pretty big money to. He didn't last. I know Snacks Harrison went undrafted. I think Kevin Strong went undrafted, and he was a pretty impactful player for the Lions. It happens across the league. So undrafted players still do deserve our attention. Now, when I'm watching these players, I'm taking it, understanding that there's going to be a lot of things that I see that I don't necessarily like, or things that they need to get better at, or maybe things that they just can't do. Maybe there's just limitations to their game. And that's understandable because they weren't drafted, right? There's usually a reason you weren't drafted. And today we're talking about Jalen Elliott. So I know there's going to be bad things. It's not all going to be perfect. So there's still some concerns with him. The main thing that I'm going to be trying to figure out with these players is if they make the team, what will their role be, right? What can they do well? What can they bring to the team? Say, for example, Jalen Elliott, right? We're talking about him today. What can he bring to the defense if he's on the defensive side of the ball? What can he bring to special teams if he plays special teams? That's really what I'm focusing on. Less, how talented is he and stuff like that. More like, what would your role be for the Lions? Because for the Lions, this is a lot different role than what it may be with other teams. So today we're talking about Jalen Elliott out of Notre Dame. This is a 6-foot safety, 205 pounds out of Notre Dame. Now, there are definitely some major concerns that I don't necessarily know if he can fix. That may be just something that we have to live with, and that may just be limitations that he has. But as you know, we're going to start off with the strengths. We're going to look at the pros, what he does well. We're going to look at this positively first. We're going to look at the good stuff. So let's start off with the strengths that I took away from Jalen Elliott's game when I watched him. Okay, this is not from numbers. This is what I watched. So there's actually no numbers in this. I may throw up a picture of stats or something, but this is all about what I saw on the film. So let's start off and let's take a look at what I saw that he did well. So the first strength that I have is his ability to play in the box. Now, I'm going to be honest. This may be his only role defensively as a Detroit Lion. If he has any role as a Lion defensively, this will probably be the one place that he does succeed. And I think you can use him as a deeper safety. You know, you could take him out of the box, play him at free safety, stuff like that, but you're at a way bigger risk than putting him in the box. And the reason why the Lions are the perfect team for a guy like Jalen Elliott playing in the box is because they do run a lot of three safety sets. So they're doing due to the New England Patriots. I've learned a lot about the three safety sets when I started to watch John Harmon and try to see what he would add to Detroit. And then as I watch the Lions, I see how they use Will Harris and they use Tracy Walker and those guys. And I'm looking at it and say, okay, I can see, yeah, they do use three safeties. They're in the nickel tons of the time. And when you go those sub packages, when you're in passing downs, or you just like to have extra safety on the field like a linebacker, Jalen Elliott could be very effective in that way for the Detroit Lions. He's not super athletic. That's some of his major limitations is athletically. He's not very fast. He's just not very agile. He's not very twitchy. You don't necessarily want to get this guy man-to-man with a wide receiver. You don't want him on a tight end. Most likely, you probably don't want him on a very fast running back. You want this guy in a box for run support. That's where he will succeed. That's where he'll be the best with probably any team that he goes to if he's on the defensive side of the ball. And he was actually pretty successful with that with Notre Dame as well. So let's go on to the next point that I have, and that is that he is able to crash down for tackles. Kind of the same thing, kind of the same point that he can come down to the box, make tackles. Now, he's not a big hitter. A lot of times when you talk about guys that can tackle well, you're thinking about those guys that just like pop people, right? They just run people over. Kind of Miles Killebrew coming out of college. You've watched Miles Killebrew highlights. If you haven't, go watch Miles Killebrew college highlights. Those are still cool to go see. The former 4th-round pick in 2016. That guy was laying people out. That's not necessarily what you're going to get with a guy like Jalen Elliott. Wait, was he 2016? It might have been 17. Either way, Jalen Elliott's not going to give you that. He's not going to run over many people. He's not going to give you those flashy pops. You know, he's not going to give you those. He does have like a few of them, like a very few where it happens like rarely. I think he had that big hit against Sean McEwen, which was Michigan's tight end, which led him to getting injured, unfortunately. But I think that's like one of the only ones that he had. Most of the time, it's his really good ability to wrap up. He's a very good form and pure tackler. And when you think about how the Lions like to do things and how much Matt Patricia says fundamentals, you know, it's not about the scheme. We're struggling defensively because the fundamentals, we have to have the fundamentals down first. And that's usually something you're thinking, okay, you got to figure that out when you're in high school. But for the Lions, it's something that Matt Patricia preaches, and he wants all the fundamentals. He doesn't want guys out there making flashy hits. All right, we've seen a lot of cornerbacks in Lions days that try to make hits that are flashy. They try to run through people, and sometimes it looks real cool. Maybe you force a fumble, and then other times the guy just bounces off and he's gone. And it's like, why don't you just wrap him up and make the sure tackle? But when I watch Jalen Elliott, I don't see a guy that's trying to just explode on people. Sure, you know, you got to run through the player, but you also need to wrap up and have a good technique. And I think that's what Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn liked when they signed him, because there was a reason they did sign him as an undrafted free agent. They didn't just pick random people and say, hey, we'll just go sign that guy because he's available and he played in Notre Dame. No, the reason they signed him is because of certain little things that they saw in his game that they think they can build upon and how he could be useful with the Lions. Because I feel like every time you sign some player, you have that thought. You have this thought when you bring someone in, okay, where could his role be? This is his role. This is what his role will be with the Lions. This is his role could be. You're just trying to get him to that ability, right? You're trying to get him to that position where he can be impactful for your football team. Every player you sign, every player you trade for, you're trying to look at it and say, okay, this is what his role would be with the Lions if he is here. So that's what I see with Jalen Elliott. Now, like I mentioned before, you don't want this guy on wide receivers. You probably don't want him on most tight ends unless they're not very fast or not very tall, because he's only 6 foot tall, so he's not huge. He has pretty much lacking size. He's not a very big safety. He's pretty physical, just not a very big safety, and he's not very, very fast. His 40 time will tell you that on its own. He ran at 4.8, and as I was watching this guy, before I even looked at that, I was saying, wow, this guy looks kind of slow, right? He kind of looks like he's running mud, right? He just looks kind of slow. He's not very twitchy. He's not very quick. He's not quick in and out of breaks. He's just kind of slow. You know, he kind of stutters at different places. And then I looked at his 40 time. I was like, yep, that makes sense. That makes sense. He ran a 4.8. And 4.8's not awful. It's just not very good for a secondary player, right? You would expect it to be a little bit faster. For example, Tracy Walker ran at 4.5. I think Miles Killebrew went somewhere in the 4.5 range as well. He just ain't that fast. He's not that fast. And you don't want this guy in man-to-man coverage situations. Now, if you put him in a zone, possibly he could be successful. If you put him in a situation where maybe he has some help, he'll be successful. But you put him man-to-man, you put him on an island against a fast running back, against a fast tight end, against any kind of really wide receiver, there's probably going to be problems there. And that's not necessarily good. So he's not going to be very helpful, I think, in the passing game, other than his zone awareness. I feel like you put him in a zone situation in the back end, he can jump on routes, you know, kind of like what you do with cornerbacks. You know, when cornerbacks slow down a little bit, when they may have lost a step, you put him at safety because they still have that great awareness to jump passes and make plays in the back end, but not necessarily be in a great responsibility where they have to man-to-man someone. So if the Lions do blitz in certain times, he won't be necessarily the guy that you want to say, okay, you take the slot real quick while we blitz, because that'll be the guy that smart quarterbacks will probably look to attack. So that's not where you you want him defensively. You want him in a situation where if he has to play in coverage, you want him to be trying to lurk things, jump on things, where it's not just his responsibility. You don't want him man on man, all right? You can put him into deep safety position where he's the last guy, last line of defense. He's a smart player. You just don't want him one-on-one with a wide receiver or really tight end or probably any kind of fast running back. You put him on LeGarrette Blount, you might have some success there. You put him on a guy like Austin Eckler, you might be in trouble. DeAndre Swift, you might be in trouble. Run support player. If you're creating an archetype, you know how you do Madden franchise and you get to pick like where you want to upgrade the player, and there's like a couple of options. Well, for safety, one of them is run support. That's exactly the button you're clicking for Jalen Elliott. They've been clicking that the whole time in Notre Dame because he's upgrading that run support. That's what he's for. That's what he does well. The next thing that we have is he's a tough player. I feel like he's the perfect mold for a Patriot / Lions player / and the reason I say Patriot is because it's all from that tree and that's how they do things. This is the perfect player for what Matt Patricia likes to do and all the fundamentals, kind of like I touched on before. So I feel like he has that mold to be a Lions player, and that's the reason they went after him, because they saw the little things that they can build upon. They don't necessarily need to say okay, come on, stop trying to be flashy. You gotta be more disciplined. He's already that kind of player. He's not gonna pop off your screen Notre Dame. He just does things smart. He does things well, and he does them consistently. So I feel like he has that kind of fit. He's got the motor. You can't teach that. Now let's move on to the concerns, which I've already touched on a lot of them, but let's kind of recap. The first one is his lack of physical strength. Not the most physical player. And usually when you look at safeties like this that aren't super fast, that could struggle in the back end or in coverage, and you try to convert them because they're physical to linebacker. You guys remember when we did that with Miles Killebrew? Usually they got to put on some size, which I'm not saying he can't. You're 6 foot tall. That's not like the big concern. The concern is you're only 205 pounds. He's probably going to have to put on, I think Miles Killebrew weighs over 20 more pounds than he does. So you're probably going to have to put on some weight, which he could if you wanted to try to become more of a linebacker. So that's always possible. His hit power, like I said, he's not running through that many people. He's just a very secure tackler. Hey, that's your thing. Secure tackler. That would be his X factor. Is that an X factor on Madden? I don't know. Secure tackler is what he has. And the final thing is his change of direction, right? He's not quickly in his change of direction. He's not very twitchy. That kind of goes back to the athletic ability. And I feel like you can get stronger. You can get a little bit faster. But I also feel like at some point, some guys are just faster. He's never going to be Henry Ruggs speed. He's always, going to be probably not the most athletic player. A little bit under average when it comes to athletic ability. So for me personally, what I watched, again, these are my takeaways. You guys could have saw some different. When I watch him, this guy can have a very big role in special teams because Miles Killebrew was very good for special teams. And the players that I compared him to on the Lions roster was a mix between Tracy Walker and Miles Killebrew. More the size of a guy like Tracy Walker, but when it came to play style, I would say definitely more Miles Killebrew, except for the big hitting, because that was Miles Killebrew's that was what he was known for coming out of college. This guy's not necessarily known for that. He's known for being more of a smarter safety. So he kind of reminds me of Miles Killebrew, maybe more as the safety Miles Killebrew, not the linebacker, but I think he could try to translate there. But he could be really good on special teams. You don't need to be the fastest player on special teams. You need to be a good tackler because you need to, go on punts, right, on kickoffs. You need to make plays, and I think that's where he would have a lot of success. So I think that's where he could have a role, and I think he could make the team there. We've seen undrafted players make the team, and they're usually cheaper. And when you look at Miles Killebrew, he's on the last year of his deal. So bringing a guy like Jalen Elliott could be that Miles Killebrew replacement at some point. So that's what I see out of Jalen Elliott. Let me know what you guys see if you watched him. I do think he has a potential here. I don't necessarily know if it's on the defense side of the ball right away. We'll see him in the preseason most likely, and we'll see how the Lions utilize him. It'll be interesting to see where they put him at. I expect them to use him in a zone more often when they do use him, and we'll see if they try to make him more of a linebacker. I just don't know. I mean, he's a smart player. He's smart enough to play safety, and we've seen slower safeties play. We've seen slower players play at the safety spot, which I think he can be good at that. But if the Lions are going to a blitz and they're trying to throw him and match him up against, wide receiver or someone like that, he's going to have problems. So I don't necessarily know if they'll blitz a lot when he's out there, if he's there, unless you put him at that linebacker spot. So that's Jalen Elliott. Let me know your thoughts, comments below. Thank you for watching. Let me know what y'all think, suggestions, and I'm out.